The knock on my apartment door came at exactly 11:47 p.m. on Valentine's Day, and I already knew it was him before I even looked through the peephole. No one else would show up this late. No one else would dare. When I opened the door, Ethan Parker, my CEO, stood there in a dark coat, his hair slightly messy like he had been running his hands through it all night. The hallway light behind him made his face look softer than usual. He was holding nothing, no flowers, no gift. Just that serious look in his eyes that always made my heart beat faster at work. "I can't hide my feelings anymore," he said quietly. The words hung in the air between us, warm and heavy. I folded my arms to stop my hands from shaking. I had imagined this moment 100 times in my head, but not like this. Not with the cold February air slipping into my apartment, and not with the memory of what happened this morning still fresh in my mind. "Then don't," I said. His jaw tightened slightly, like he was not sure if I was daring him or warning him. I stepped aside and let him in. My apartment was small but neat. A soft lamp glowed in the corner, and a half-eaten slice of pizza sat on the coffee table. I had planned to spend Valentine's alone, pretending I did not care that everyone else in Chicago seemed to have someone waiting for them. Ethan looked around like he had never imagined where I lived. At the office, I was just his executive assistant. Calm, organized, professional. He never saw the messy side of my life. The side that cried in the shower when deadlines felt too heavy. The side that still checked her phone hoping for a text that never came. He took off his coat slowly. "Ava, I know this is wrong." My name sounded different when he said it like that. Softer. Not like when he called me into meetings or asked for reports. "You're my boss," I replied. "That part is very clear." He moved closer, stopping just a few steps away. Close enough that I could smell his cologne. Close enough that I remembered every moment over the past year that brought us here. The late nights at the office when everyone else had gone home and it was just the two of us reviewing contracts. The way his hand brushed mine when we both reached for the same folder. The way his voice lowered when he told me I was the only one he trusted with important deals. I had tried to ignore it. I needed this job. After my last relationship ended badly, I promised myself I would never mix work and feelings again. This morning made that promise even harder. At the office, a huge bouquet of red roses had been delivered to the front desk. The whole team gathered around, whispering and smiling. The card only said one word: Ava. My face burned as everyone looked at me. Ethan had walked out of his glass office at that exact moment. His expression was unreadable, but I saw something flash in his eyes. Not surprise. Not confusion. Something darker. He called me into his office right away. "Who sent those?" he asked. "I don't know," I answered honestly. He stared at me for a long second like he was trying to see if I was lying. Then he nodded and dismissed me without another word. The rest of the day, he barely spoke to me. Every time I glanced at him through the glass walls, he looked tense. Now standing in my apartment, he ran a hand through his hair again. "I saw you smile at the flowers," he said quietly. "I was embarrassed," I replied. Everyone was watching. His eyes searched mine. "I thought you had someone." The truth was simple. I did not. I had not dated anyone seriously since my ex left me for someone else in New York. I poured everything into my job instead. It felt safer that way. "I don't," I said. The air between us shifted. It felt heavier, but also lighter at the same time. He stepped even closer. Now there was barely any space between us. I could see the tiny scar near his eyebrow that he once told me he got as a kid, playing baseball in Dallas. I noticed small details about him more than I should have. "I tried to stay away," he said. "I kept telling myself you work for me, that I should act like nothing is there. But every time you walk into a room, I forget all of that." My heart pounded so loud I was sure he could hear it. "This could ruin everything," I whispered. "I know. You could lose your reputation." "I don't care." Quote, "You could fire me if things go wrong. I would never do that." His voice was firm, almost hurt that I would even think it, I swallowed hard. I wanted him. I had wanted him for months, but wanting someone and trusting them were two different things. "Why tonight?" I asked. He hesitated. That small pause scared me more than anything. "Because when I saw those roses," he said slowly, "I realized I might lose you without ever telling you the truth." "Lose me?" The word hit deep. "Lose me how?" I asked. He looked down for a second, then back at me. "I was offered a position in Los Angeles this week, a bigger role, bigger company. I haven't answered yet." The room felt like it was spinning slightly. "You're leaving?" "I don't know," he replied. "I was planning to say yes, until today." My chest tightened. Everything suddenly made sense. His distance, his tension, the way he looked at the roses like they were a threat. "You came here to tell me you're leaving," I said softly. "I came here to tell you that if I leave," he corrected, "I don't want to leave without knowing if there's something real between us." Something real. The words felt dangerous, beautiful, terrifying. I took a step back, needing space to breathe. He did not follow. He just watched me, waiting. For months, I had been the safe one, the careful one, the assistant who never crossed lines. Now the line was right in front of me, and he was asking me to step over it. Outside, a car drove past. Somewhere down the hall, a door slammed. The world kept moving like this moment did not matter. But it did. I looked at him and saw not my CEO, but a man who was scared of losing something he had never even touched. "If we do this," I said slowly, "there's no going back." His eyes softened. "I don't want to go back." And for the first time all night, I realized I did not want to either. I stood there looking at him, and for the first time since I started working at Parker Industries, I did not see my CEO. I saw Ethan, just a man standing in my living room on Valentine's night waiting for me to decide his future. The room felt too small for a moment that big. The soft lamplight made everything feel warmer than it should. I could hear my own breathing, slow but shaky. "You were going to leave without telling me," I said quietly. "I was trying to protect both of us," he replied. "If I stayed silent, it would be easier, cleaner." "Cleaner for who?" I asked. He did not answer right away. His silence said enough. I walked toward the kitchen to give myself space. I poured a glass of water even though I was not thirsty. My hands needed something to hold. I felt him watching me. But he stayed where he was, like he was afraid that one wrong step would make me ask him to leave. "You think running away makes it easier?" I said, still facing the sink. "You think leaving for Los Angeles fixes what you feel?" "No," he admitted. "I think it buries it." I turned around and leaned back against the counter. "And you're okay with burying it?" Quote. His eyes met mine, steady and honest. I was, until I saw those roses. The roses again. It almost made me laugh. A mystery bouquet had shaken him more than any business deal ever could. "You really thought I had someone?" I said. "I thought I waited too long," he answered. "That hurt more than I expected." Because he was right. We had both been waiting. Waiting for the other to say something first. Waiting for a sign that it was safe. I walked back into the living room and sat on the edge of the couch. He stayed standing for a moment, then slowly sat on the chair across from me. There was still space between us, but it felt charged, like a thin wire stretched tight. "Do you know what people would say?" I asked. "They already talk," he replied. "They always will. They will say I used you. They will say I favored you," he said calmly. "They will think every promotion, every raise, every project I got was because of this." His jaw tightened. "You earned everything you have." "I know that." "But will they?" I pressed. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "If I stay, I will step back from directly managing you. I will move you to another department. I will make sure no one can question your work." The fact that he had already thought about this made my heart twist. This was not some sudden emotional decision. He had planned for this, quietly, carefully. "You really thought this through," I said softly. "I have had months to think." he replied. Months. So it was not just me. I remembered the first time I noticed something different in his eyes. It was last summer during a company retreat in Michigan. We had been sitting by the lake after a long day of meetings. Everyone else went inside to drink and laugh. We stayed outside, talking about nothing important. The sunset reflected in the water, and he looked at me like he was trying to memorize my face. That night, I felt it. The shift. But neither of us said a word. Now the words were here, heavy and real. If I say yes, I began slowly, what happens tomorrow? He did not hesitate. Tomorrow, I call the board and decline the offer in Los Angeles. My heart skipped. You would give that up for me? I would give it up for the chance, he corrected. Not for a promise, not for something forced, just for the chance to see if this is real. The honesty in his voice scared me. It would be easier if he sounded dramatic or reckless. But he sounded calm, certain. And if it doesn't work, I asked. Then I will live with that, he said. But I will not spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I had knocked on your door tonight. The clock on my wall ticked loudly. Midnight was close. Valentine's Day almost over. I stood up and walked toward him. He slowly stood too. We were only inches apart now. I could see the nerves in his eyes, even though he tried to hide them. You don't get to control this, I said softly. If we try, it's not on your terms. It's not because you're my boss. It's because I'm a man who cares about you, he replied. His voice was low but steady, not demanding, not commanding, just honest. I reached down without thinking and touched his chest lightly, just over his heart. I could feel it beating fast under my hand. You're scared, I said. Yes, he admitted. So am I. For a moment, neither of us moved. The air between us felt warm, electric. My fingers curled slightly into his shirt, like I was testing if he was real. I don't want to be a secret, I said. You won't be, he promised. I don't want whispers in hallways. Then we don't hide. That simple answer made my breath catch. No hiding, no pretending. You said you can't hide your feelings anymore, I whispered, so say it clearly. He looked straight into my eyes. I'm in love with you, Ava. The words hit me harder than I expected. Love. Not attraction, not interest. Love. My heart felt like it was breaking open. I searched his face for any sign of doubt, but there was none. Just vulnerability. You barely know me outside the office, I said weakly. I know how you take care of everyone else before yourself, he replied. I know how you stay late to fix problems that are not even yours. I know how your smile changes when you talk about your little sister in Boston. I know more than you think. Tears burned behind my eyes. I did not cry easily, but something about being seen like that made it hard to breathe. And what if I break your heart? I asked. He gave a small, sad smile. Then at least it will be you. The world outside felt far away. It was just us in this small apartment, standing at the edge of something that could change everything. Midnight struck softly in the distance from a nearby church bell. Valentine's Day was over. But something new had just begun. The church bell faded into the night, and I realized I was still holding onto his shirt like I was afraid he would disappear if I let go. I'm in love with you too, I said before I could stop myself. The words came out soft but steady. They had been living inside me for months, waiting for the right moment. I had planned to bury them, to protect myself, to protect my job. But once they were free, I felt lighter. Ethan closed his eyes for a second like he was letting the words sink in. When he opened them again, something had changed. The tension was still there, but now it was mixed with relief. He lifted his hand slowly, giving me time to pull away if I wanted. I did not. His fingers brushed my cheek, warm and careful. It was not rushed. It was not wild. It felt like he had been waiting a long time to do something so simple. This doesn't fix the world outside that door, I said quietly. I know, he replied. But it fixes what's in here. He tapped his chest gently, then looked at mine like he was asking for permission to believe me. I stepped closer. There was no space left between us now. My heart was beating so fast I felt it in my throat. I had imagined kissing him so many times at the office, in elevators, in quiet conference rooms after long meetings. But standing here in my living room felt different, real. Dangerous, in a new way. If we do this, I whispered, we do it right. We do it right, he repeated. His lips touched mine slowly, like he was afraid of breaking something fragile. It was not a desperate kiss. It was soft and deep at the same time, full of everything we had held back for so long. I felt my knees weaken, and he steadied me with a hand at my waist. For a moment, the world outside did not exist. There were no board members, no employees, no whispers. Just us and the quiet hum of the heater in my apartment. When we finally pulled back, I rested my forehead against his chest. His arms wrapped around me carefully, like he was protecting something precious. I don't want this to be a mistake, I said against him. It won't be, he answered, but it will be complicated. I laughed softly. That's honest. We stayed like that for a few minutes, just breathing together. It felt strange and right at the same time, like stepping into a new house that already feels like home. Then reality started to creep back in. What about the board? I asked. They already watch everything you do. I'll tell them about Los Angeles first, he said. I'll decline the offer in the morning. After that, we take things step by step. And the office? We keep it professional, he replied. No special treatment, no closed doors unless it's work, and we tell HR once we're ready. The fact that he said we instead of I made my chest tighten in a good way. You're serious, I said. I have never been more serious. He leaned down and kissed my forehead gently. It felt intimate in a way that surprised me. More intimate than the kiss on my lips. I should go, he said quietly. The idea of him leaving so soon made me nervous. The apartment would feel empty again. But I knew he was right. We both needed time to think clearly before morning came. Okay, I replied, even though I wanted to ask him to stay. He grabbed his coat from the chair. Before he opened the door, he looked back at me. No more hiding, he said. No more hiding. I agreed. He left, and the door closed softly behind him. I stood there for a long time, staring at the door like it might open again. My lips still felt warm. My heart still raced. I walked to the window and watched him step out onto the sidewalk. He paused for a second and looked up at my window. When he saw me, he smiled. Not the confident CEO smile he wore at meetings. A real one, soft and almost shy. Then he got into his car and drove away. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I replayed everything. His voice, his hands, the way he said he was in love with me. Morning came too fast. When I walked into Parker Industries, the office buzzed like usual. Phones ringing, people talking, coffee machines humming. Nothing looked different. But everything felt different to me. I took a deep breath and walked to my desk. Ethan's office door was closed. That was normal. What was not normal was the way my stomach twisted knowing what we had shared just hours ago. At 10 o'clock, my phone rang. It was his direct line. "Can you come in?" he asked. His voice sounded calm, professional, like nothing had changed. "Of course," I replied. I walked into his office and closed the door behind me. The glass walls suddenly felt too transparent. He stood by the window, looking out over the Chicago skyline. When he turned around, his expression was serious. "I declined Los Angeles," he said, just like that. "You already told them?" I asked. "Yes." The finality in his voice made it real. He had chosen to stay. "Was it hard?" I asked softly. He gave a small smile. "Not as hard as I thought." Before I could respond, there was a knock on his office door. A sharp, quick knock. We both froze for a split second. "Come in," he called. The door opened, and Melissa Grant, the head of marketing, stepped inside. She looked between us with a curious expression. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, but she did not look sorry. "I just wanted to confirm something I heard this morning." My heart dropped. "What did you hear?" Ethan asked calmly. "That you turned down Los Angeles," she said. Her eyes shifted to me for just a second too long. "That's a big move." The way she looked at me made my skin prickle. Rumors moved fast in this building. Ethan's face stayed unreadable. "I made the choice that was best for the company." Melissa nodded slowly, but her smile was tight. Of course. We all want what's best. She left the office, closing the door gently behind her. Silence filled the room. That was fast, I whispered. He stepped closer to me but kept a careful distance. This is what I meant by complicated. And in that moment, I realized loving him was not going to be the hardest part. Surviving everyone else might be. The second Melissa walked out of the office, I felt the shift. It was small, but real. The air felt heavier. The walls felt thinner. The secret we had promised not to keep already felt like it was pressing against the glass. Ethan looked at me, calm but alert. We stay steady, he said quietly. No sudden moves. I nodded, even though my stomach felt tight. The rest of the morning passed slowly. Every time someone walked by my desk, I felt like they were studying me. Maybe it was just in my head, maybe not. News like his decision to turn down Los Angeles did not stay quiet for long. Around noon, an email went out to the entire company. Ethan thanked everyone for their hard work and announced he had decided to remain in Chicago to continue leading Parker Industries into its next chapter. It was formal, clean, nothing personal, but my phone started buzzing within minutes. People were surprised. Some were excited. A few were confused. One message from Melissa said, "Big choice. Hope it was worth it." I stared at that message longer than I should have. At 3 in the afternoon, Ethan called me into his office again. This time, the door stayed slightly open. He handed me a folder. "I want you to review the restructuring proposal," he said in a clear, professional tone. "There will be some changes in reporting lines." I opened the folder and felt my pulse jump. My name was listed under a different department. I would report directly to the COO starting next week. "You're moving me," I said quietly. "It removes any conflict," he replied. "No one can question your position." It was smart, it was careful, it also hurt more than I expected, so we barely work together now, I said, keeping my voice even. "We work together as leaders," he answered, "not as boss and assistant." The words were meant to reassure me, but there was a small ache in my chest. The late nights, the shared coffee breaks, the small moments that built us, they would change. After work, I walked out of the building with the rest of the team. The sky over Chicago was gray, the wind cold against my face. I felt exposed walking through the lobby, like everyone knew something I had not said. My phone buzzed. "Dinner?" Ethan texted. I hesitated. "Public or private?" "Somewhere neutral," I replied. We met at a small restaurant near the river. Not fancy, not too quiet. Just enough noise that no one would listen too closely. When I saw him walk in, dressed casually in a dark sweater instead of a suit, my heart still skipped. It felt strange seeing him outside the office in daylight. He smiled when he sat across from me. "How was your day?" "Long," I said honestly. "Yours?" "Expected," he replied. We ordered simple food. Burgers, fries. Nothing romantic about it, which somehow made it more real. "I moved you because I want this to last," he said after a moment. "I know," I answered. "It just feels different. Different isn't always bad." I studied his face. There was no regret there, just determination. "Melissa suspects something," I admitted. He nodded slightly. "She has always wanted my job." That made me sit up straighter. "You think she would use this against you?" "If she has proof, maybe," he said calmly. "If she has rumors, they mean nothing." The word proof echoed in my mind. "We have to be careful," I said. "We will be," he replied. Then his expression softened. "But I won't pretend you're just another employee when we're alone." The way he said alone made warmth spread through me. After dinner, we walked along the river. The city lights reflected on the water. The wind was sharp, but he slipped his hand into mine like it was the most natural thing in the world. No hiding. People passed us without a second glance. We were just another couple walking through downtown Chicago. "I don't regret last night," I said quietly. "Neither do I." He stopped walking and turned to face me. The lights behind him made his eyes glow softly. "I chose to stay because of you," he said. "But I'm staying for more than that. I'm staying because this city feels right when you're in it." My throat tightened. "You make that sound easy," I said. "It isn't easy," he replied. "It's worth it." For the first time since all this started, I felt calm, not because the problems disappeared, but because we were facing them together. The next week moved fast. The restructuring was announced. I officially transferred departments. There were whispers, but no one had facts. Melissa watched me closely, but she had nothing to use. Ethan and I kept work clean and sharp. Meetings were formal, emails were professional. No one could point to anything wrong. But outside the office, we built something steady. Movie nights at my apartment. Sunday mornings with coffee by the lake. Late calls just to hear each other's voice. One Friday evening, as I packed up my desk to leave, Melissa approached me. "You're moving up fast," she said with a tight smile. "I work hard," I replied calmly. She leaned closer. "Just be careful, people don't like special treatment." I met her eyes. Good thing I don't get any. Quote. She studied me for a moment, then walked away. That night, I told Ethan everything. "She wants you to slip," he said quietly. "Then we won't," I answered. He looked at me with pride. "You're stronger than you think." A month later, the board held a company event at a large hotel ballroom downtown. It was formal, elegant, important. I wore a simple navy dress. He wore a black suit. For the first hour, we stayed apart, talking to different groups, playing our roles. Then, near the end of the night, the chairman of the board tapped his glass for attention. "I want to congratulate Ethan for his commitment to this company," he said loudly. "Turning down Los Angeles shows leadership." Applause filled the room. Ethan took the microphone. He thanked everyone, then paused. "There's another reason I chose to stay," he said. My heart stopped. He looked directly at me across the room. "I realize that success means nothing if you don't share it with someone who challenges you and makes you better." The room grew quiet. "And I found that person here." Every eye followed his gaze to me. He walked toward me slowly. Confident, certain. "I won't hide what matters to me," he said clearly. "Ava and I are together, and we will continue to lead with integrity." Silence hung in the air for one long second. Then the chairman began to clap. Others followed. Not everyone smiled. Melissa did not. But no one could argue. There was no scandal, no secret, just truth spoken openly. Ethan reached for my hand in front of everyone. No hiding. As the applause grew louder, I realized something. Love did not ruin my career. It did not destroy his reputation. It forced us to be brave. And standing there in that ballroom, with his hand holding mine, I knew I had made the right choice the night he knocked on my door.